This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Thank you for downloading the latest edition of Check the Report, episode 21. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Thank you so much for joining. I want to hit on something that hits near to me in regards to my alma mater, Michigan State. And then later on in this podcast, I got a feature interview with somebody that has started a brand new company looking to take advantage of all the excitement surrounding March Madness. And I hope you stay and really take in this interview. Really good, passionate sports fans, really individuals that are doing great things in the world of Detroit. I'm going to have a conversation with Duma, and we're going to talk about his new company and how you can take place and pay attention and learn about what he's trying to accomplish here in March Madness. But before we get to the interview, I am, obviously being a Michigan State Spartan alum. I'm somebody that is tied to the university. A lot of great memories that I had in my 4 years there, earned a degree, really set me up for all the success that I've had in several areas of my life. It was a great experience all the way around. Perfect timing. I went to college there prior to the age of social media, so all the activities are off the record. Nothing will stick with me. From 1997 to 2001, I was a student there, and the only reason why my parents, because they knew what was going on there, the only reason why they allowed me to go was because I promised them in 4 years I will come back with a degree. I'm not doing the 5-year plan. I'm not doing the 6-year plan. I'm not going to flunk out. I'm going to obviously pay the hefty toll in regards to the tuition. I worked hard, so I didn't have to take out a massive amount of student loans. So I was able to keep everything reasonable at that time, and boom, within 4 years, I showed them the degree. And because of my academic performance, I was able to then go on to grad school. And it was great because very few people get a chance to actually win a national title in a sport at the university that they go to. So to be part of the campus back in 2000, being a junior when the Spartans led by Mateen Cleaves, Andre Hudson, you had Morris Peterson, Charlie Bell. That team, led by a youthful Tom Izzo, gave me one of the great sports memories that I had. And it showed my responsibility, too, because I partied all night and just stayed up and went to class the next morning, me and 3 other people. In a class full of maybe 30 people, 4 of us showed up, and the professor was like, okay, let me take your name, give you some extra credit. Y'all go home, man. We looked rugged, but we showed up. I showed up to class, and I remember stopping by all the newsstands, picking up all the papers, just feeling that sense of, wow, the Spartans accomplished something. It was a great opportunity to celebrate, a night I'll never forget. So obviously I've had ties to the university, followed along with all the success then that the football program had under Mark D'Antonio. So obviously in the College of Social Science, being that I earned a psychology degree from the university, I'm very proud of it. It has brought me a long way in my life and really allowed me the opportunity to do a lot of things that I want. So then, obviously when things take a downturn with the cycle of sports, you realize, okay, certain things is going to ebb and flow. Mark D'Antonio's era was great, getting to the college football playoff, winning a Rose Bowl, bringing back the football program to a sense of national prominence, just there on the cusp of consistency. And obviously it, dwindled, and then some controversies hit in regards to Larry Nassar and the manner in which Michigan State handled everything. So now here we are in 2021, and Michigan State's just trying to come out from out underneath all that scandal, and some good things are happening to some great alums. Now, I'm not at the level of a Matt Ishbia or a Dan Gilbert in terms of building a multi-billion-dollar company, but I'm doing okay for myself. And you start to see a little bit of these two companies led by Spartans are kind of waging a little bit of a pissing contest with each other, where Rocket Mortgage is giving a bunch of money to the Spartans. Matt Ishbia made a great contribution of $36 million or so to Tom Izzo, which would make me cry as well. Coach Izzo obviously is aware of the overwhelming sentiment that Matt Ishbia gave his program. And obviously it's going to be intended to help out the program and bring back prominence, because the Spartans are great. They've been to the Final Four quite a bit of time in basketball, but they haven't taken that final next step to cement themselves like a Duke and a Carolina. They're right there knocking on the door, but Tom Izzo definitely needs that second national title, I believe, to cement himself in their rarefied air with the Krzyzewskis of the world. But the program's solid. Can't argue it. Final Four appearances, Big Ten wins, defeating your rival regularly. No problem there. Funds coming in from the likes of Magic, Steve Smith, Draymond Green, everybody with prominence gives back, which is great, which is something that it's part of the deal when you're a head coach. You got to build these relationships and allow for your former athletes to donate and to build that bridge and to have those solid relationships. But the Spartans, they don't walk away unscathed in this whole fundraising operation that they got going on. All right, it was announced on Thursday after, or just prior to their devastatingly poor performance against Maryland, where Coach Izzo let his emotions get the best of him, and his team went out there and succumbed to the pressure and fell mightily to Maryland and getting themselves eliminated from the Big Ten tournament. It was announced that Rocket Mortgage for the next 5 years will have the right, when people address what the basketball team is known as, will now be referenced as, which I will never probably do because I think it's tacky and it sounds quite unusual, is they are going to be referencing themselves as the Michigan State Spartans presented by Rocket Mortgage. And when you hear it, everyone understands, myself included, the nature of sponsorships, the nature of naming rights of these stadiums. Wealthy people like to give and donate endowments and large sums of money to have their names on buildings, which is fine. I understand the nature of sponsorships. Companies need funds, fundraisers, in order to operate these vast programs athletically as well. But I'm not calling the Michigan State Spartans presented by Rocket Mortgage. That's just not ever going to happen. I think it's tacky, and I think, there are times when people really need to take a step back and go, do we really want that to be publicly aired and talked about? Is that this is what we want to be known as? Now, there can be other ways of doing the sponsorship. I think there's a line you have to draw in regards to what you're going to do. Is it going to be soon? If I really wanted to, if I said, and they might take me up on the offer. If I said, hey, I'm going to donate a nice six-figure sum, will Coach Izzo walk out on the court and be known as Tom Izzo presented by Detroit Sports Podcast? And it may happen. You never know. But I prefer to keep the sponsor monies and allocate marketing resources to other endeavors. But I just don't like the over-the-top nature of this particular announcement. And I think you could do a lot of different things. Halftime presented by, this is presented by. But the name in and of itself, the MSU Spartans, comes across as being a little bit tacky. That's my reaction to it. Everyone chuckled. I just don't find that is the way in which Rocket Mortgage needs to present itself. Well, look, you can never put yourself in too many places, right? You can never have your name out there too much. I understand. Rocket Mortgage is everywhere. United Wholesale Mortgage is everywhere. These two companies are, obviously doing well for each other. So for you guys to think that there's this animosity, it's just professional business. These guys are both billionaires. One company's not going away over the other. They're both firmly implanted in the marketplace. And this is just additional PR for them, to get their name across. And it's also a little bit of personal one-upsmanship, which I understand at that level as well. So, and obviously Matt Ishbia replied and challenged Dan Gilbert to give the same amount of money, which is another awesome way of responding, saying, hey, it's all good. It's all good for Michigan State if funds are flowing in. So, Dan, I dropped $36 million. How about you drop the $36 million? That'd be great. That would show your commitment and dedication to the school that helped make you the man that you are. But I will not be calling Michigan State by that name. They are the Michigan State Spartans through and through. And we got to get them back on track because Mel Tucker, while he did have the nice win over Michigan, the quarterback play and some of the results just weren't where they needed to be. It was either they feasted or they famined in that first year under Mel Tucker and Tom Izzo in a COVID year. Listening to him, I understand now for the past 3 years having the access, that he thrives on emotion. But lately, in the height of a challenging time, you start to see those that say, well, you need a steadying hand there at certain points in your leadership so that the team can also weather when you have a dipshit official that's calling your game, ruining the flow of the game, and you are visibly upset. You're reacting to the emotion, which he acknowledged. He has to be that steadying, calm force to show his team, hey, we can overcome that dipshit butt wipe official and help your team overcome some adversity. But in the last few weeks, it appears the stress and the pressure has gotten to Coach Tom Izzo. He fully acknowledged it. He owned up to it. And let's see if another week off will aid the Spartans in their ultimate goal, which is to try to do your absolute best in the tournament. Let's hope they secure the spot. Let's hope that they are able to really, truly be able to show what they are. Because I think with COVID, with all the things going on surrounding the program, with the wearing down of certain athletes, obviously the athletes are not in the tip-top 100% shape because of COVID. They're trying to work through all these myriad of issues. And then Coach Izzo obviously not thriving at 100% peak capacity in regards to emotional regulation and being able to handle some adversity that's presented right there in front of him has caused what we see now, where the Spartans have just barely over a 500 record. Some great wins, which are awesome, but obviously in a tough year, not the results that anybody associated with the Spartans is really going to be too thrilled with when they, look back at it several months down the road. But that's the decision they made. We'll keep looking at it, but this will not be addressed like that. It'll be the last time. It's the Michigan State Spartans through and through, football program, basketball program, and all the other sports, I hope that they continue to thrive and to really meet the goals established by all the surrounding adults to help these student athletes thrive on and off of the court and fields. All right, stay with us. Ahead, my interview with Lou Duma, and it's going to be a really solid interview. Check out a great endeavor coming up here ahead of March Madness. As promised, we have our featured guest for this week's Check the Report podcast. Lou Duma reached out and messaged regarding his great game. Really interesting. I had a chance to check it out when he reached out. And I know when Detroit guys get into the mix and talk about Detroit sports and they reach out, I always enjoy conversations. He has an interesting game that he wants to share with everybody, and I had a chance to check it out. It's called Brackets Baby. Lou Duma joins us this week on Check the Report. Lou, what's going on?
How you doing? Great to talk to you.
Yeah, it's all good, man. You created a card game because you kind of were a basketball fan, like everybody else, really intrigued with March Madness, and you said, you know what, I want to carry it on because when you create a bracket and everybody's had that moment where you think you fill it out well, everything is going as needed, and then you go, no, 3-4 games are picked and your bracket is busted. You created something that wants, with the purpose of keeping people engaged in the March Madness process. Tell me about Brackets Baby.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're spot on with that. I think the original idea came when Virginia was the first number 1 seed team to ever lose in the first round, and just like so many brackets got busted on day one of the tournament, and was just kind of down on my luck and thinking, I would just wish that there was a way to kind of recapture the excitement of filling out a bracket and playing out these tournaments. Besides just the one time a year. It's like my favorite time. I know you're a Detroit guy. I'm a Detroit guy. It's spring. It's, spring training going on, baseball season right around the corner, and college basketball brackets are like my absolute favorite thing. And so Brackets Baby was born from this idea of how can we play and capture some of the excitement of the tournament year round, bunch of buddies, people from all over that can get in on this game and really just capture that.
Yeah, so take us through it and how it was first dreamed up. Obviously, March Madness, brackets being busted, and then tell us about the card game.
Yeah. So the card game concept really just is I've got 16 decks which represents your seeds 1 through 16, and you have the ability to make a prediction just like you would on a tournament of how a bracket's going to play out. The way that we currently have it structured for a game is just a single bracket, not all 64 teams, but there's definitely possibilities where you can just have a whole big 64 team tournament and just make it like a day out of it. But so each deck consists of 40 cards with different scoring opportunities. And so, of course, the number one seed deck is the strongest deck. Most possible points that you could have from that deck. The 16 seed is the weakest. But the way that we kind of structured it out is that upsets are possible throughout the tournament. Of course, less likely for a 16 to upset a lower number seed. But, we kind of built the algorithm so that it is possible. And so you play it out head to head, 16 versus 1, 5 versus 12, all the same usual college kind of upsets that you're looking for, and weed it down from 16 teams down to 1.
Nice. And for those that are interested in what Lou's talking about, make sure to visit bracketsbaby.com. 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 So how many games now have you currently run?
We've done a couple of webcasts. We're doing some live streams right now just to kind of get some visibility on the game and see if people are, latching onto it, if they have an interest. So right now on the website, we're promoting March 14th being Selection Sunday. Figured let's do this. So we'll have a live stream. Some buddies of mine that are kind of all over the country that have the same prototype game that I've had printed out and produced. And so we play on this webcast to start with the 16 teams, kind of alternate who's playing for which seed, and then whittle it down. So this will be our third, I think, live stream on March 14th. And hoping to do several more as the tournament kind of plays out this year, just to, again, kind of get some visibility to the game, and then really looking for feedback from people to see, like, hey, is this something that you might want to buy? Should I run GoFundMe or Kickstarter or something like that to really try to get people this game in their hands and be able to play now that COVID's finally starting to loosen up a little bit and people are getting vaccinated. Hopefully we can start having parties again where 16 people can all be in a setting together. And then, the gaming possibilities, maybe throw a few bucks in at it, see who's going to, win this thing. And there's a lot of unique possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a real fun opportunity to kind of supplement the NCAA tournament. What has been the early reaction of your friends in the first couple go-rounds with Brackets Baby?
Yeah, it's been fun. I know my buddies, they're all pretty much like me. They're big enthusiasts, sports enthusiasts. A lot of these guys that I'm casting with, I played basketball with when I was in high school and so on into adulthood. So they all seem to be latching onto it pretty well too. And, it seems like if we have the same demographic of people that are, sports fans, college basketball fans, get into the tournament just like we do, then I'm optimistic there might be a following for this.
Absolutely. I think that it's a great way to, continue to follow and be part. And really, like you said, with the pandemic, everybody's kind of been looking for new ways to entertain themselves, new fun ways, new avenues of interacting with sports. I know sports gambling has come around as well to keep people entertained and to kind of get people through the tough times of being forced to stay at home, not being able to go to Comerica Park and things like that. So any opportunity to try something new and fun is something I look forward to trying as well. You can find Brackets Baby on Twitter at Brackets_baby. Real simple. Make sure you interact and get in, have some fun. Heck, early on, the trials will be very fun and interesting, and who doesn't love to compete and hang out with friends and try to hey, at least, maybe even down the road, win some money or have the bragging rights of being the best player. That's this number one thing. That's what I love. I love competing, the opportunity to get in the mix and see how your predictions rank against other people as well. So take me through. I'm always curious when people start new things. What was the early first couple challenges in terms of taking your vision of what this game was and then bringing it to a website and then making it to the point where you have live streams so that you can get the word out?
Yeah, it's funny. It's been almost exactly a year now. So I had this idea like 3 years ago, and I started, tinkering around with some drawings and stuff. And what I couldn't figure out I ended up hitting the pause button on it because trying to figure out a proper equalizer for how could a 16 seed upset a 1 with these different decks and things like that. And it was the weirdest thing. It was leap year day last year, February 29th. I woke up at like 3 a.m. just I normally sleep pretty well at night, but for whatever reason, I woke up at 3 a.m. and I was like, a bonus deck. That's it. And it'll make sense when you guys see the live stream. But basically, we have these 16 decks, and then we have a bonus deck, which is the last card that gets flipped in the sequence of the game. So we have 10 possessions per team per half. There's 2 halves to the game, just like college tournament. And the 10 possessions are from the actual decks that they're assigned to the seed. But then the last play of the half is each team selects from the bonus deck. And that's where there's possible higher scoring opportunities. So your normal deck just has 1, 2, 3 points or 0 points, whereas the bonus could be 1 point, as many as 8 points. And so that's kind of like the great equalizer. So it was funny, but yeah, leap year last year, I started just like drawing out all the different possibilities. And then I've still got like my hand scratched drawings of the different scoring cards, things like that. And it just kind of went from there. Like it was a really kind of cool evolution of getting it produced. And my wife's cousin is a graphic designer. So I tapped her on the shoulders like, hey, look, you have an interest in doing this for me, taking my, just horrible stick figure drawings and converting them into something that's actually legit looking. And so she was all over it. And I'm an old printer by trade, so I've got a bunch of printing buddies that I'm still in touch with. And it's like, hey, Jeff, my friend Jeff, can you print these prototypes for me? And we've got about a dozen or so prototypes out in different hands right now. And so here we are, and a year later, and got the website built, and we're ready to kind of go full steam with this, and hopefully see that this just latches on.
Full steam ahead. I love it. Make sure to check it out again, bracketsbaby.com. You can definitely find it as well at Detroit Podcast. We'll promote as the March 14th live stream approaches. And thank you guys for downloading this episode of Check the Report. So I'm curious, tell me about your love of sports in Detroit. Obviously, Detroit guys. Take me through how you first discovered Detroit sports, and which teams did you follow as a youngster?
Oh, man. Yeah, no, I was born in Southwest Detroit. I'm going to be 42 years old later this month. So I'm born and bred Detroit. Lived in suburbia through my teen years. Ended up moving away. I've kind of lived all over since then. I lived in Dallas. I've lived in Boston. I lived out in the Bay Area of California. Kind of get all over for my job. But came back home, Metro Detroit once again as a few years back. And since then, and always really, it's funny when you grow up here, I was that kid that was always contrary in Detroit sports until I left Detroit. And then it was like, hey, wait, can I cuss?
Absolutely. You can say whatever you want.
Right. It's like, okay, I can shit on my team, because I'm from here. Like I experienced it, so being a Lions fan and enduring that, I used to be, oh no, Emmitt Smith's the superior running back when I was a teenager growing up in Detroit. But then when I moved away and other people were like, well, Barry Sanders was overrated. It's like, no, screw you, man. He was the best. And so it took leaving home to ultimately realize, like, oh God, I actually am a Detroit sports fan. So, Tigers, of course, going to Tiger Stadium in the 80s, seeing Lou Whitaker, Alan Trammell, Kirk Gibby, all those guys as a kid just really built the foundation for, I love baseball. I love Detroit baseball. Michigan sports, Michigan football, Michigan basketball, Fab Five. Of course, that was my developmental years of really playing basketball and watching basketball. And how can you not? I know you're a State guy, but growing up watching C Webb and watching some of these other guys, just it's in my blood.
Absolutely. And the good thing is that you have paid attention to the Detroit Sports Podcast, because we grew this since 2013 because of our love of Detroit sports. And some people just get it all twisted. And I can share with you, Lou, because I can sense your passion. And similarly, I'll turn 42. March 11th is my birthday, and I look forward to continuing to cover Detroit sports. I would not sacrifice day after day, hour after hour, looking and watching Detroit sports if I didn't love the teams here. Now, does it mean because I talk a lot of shit about the teams and things like that? It's because ultimately, there's nobody that wants the teams to win more than myself. And when they're not winning, it produces a feeling of anger and frustration, because I've grown things. I've taken something that I was passionate about, worked my tail off to try and do whatever I got to do. I can share, we're recording this on a Saturday because I love Detroit sports. I'm in the office talking sports, looking at things, looking at the Tigers, looking at what's going on all across. So just because somebody says something contrarian to what you think doesn't make the person not a fan. There's no such thing as rating a fan. If I created the Detroit Sports Podcast and you see the number of tweets, almost 105,000 tweets about your teams, then probably the guy is interested and intrigued. And yeah, it's been a rough 5 years, and now we're slowly turning the corner of the rebuilds here. And finally, for you guys at Michigan basketball, you can, somewhat achieve some level of success that the Spartans have for the last 15 years. I'm happy for you.
Absolutely. It's about time.
It's about time. And so I have to poke the bear just a little bit. What camp are you in regards to Jim Harbaugh? Because when we lit up the phone lines and the voicemail for when he was re-signed, it kind of was like a resounding dud. Everybody was kind of disappointed. Like, man, you offered him half of his contract. He hasn't done anything. The quarterbacks are still an issue. Getting your tail kicked in yearly by Ohio State. I think probably the happiest day for sports fans was when Michigan Ohio State got canceled this year. Where are you at with Jim Harbaugh? You sticking with him, or you like, what? Who's next?
After the just number of coaches that we went through prior to Harbaugh, it's funny because I feel like we have some short memories around here, and it was painful. And I think the immediate assumption was that he was going to come in and he was going to, do what he did in Stanford, do what he did with the 49ers. It was going to be quick. It was going to be, oh yeah, here we go. Legitimacy day one. And it hasn't lived up, of course. Do I agree that they should have extended him as long as they did and for as much money as they did? Hell no. But do I think that there should be some stick-to-itiveness with him? I mean, if you believe in like the Michigan man and all that other stuff that, Michigan fans seem to latch on to so heavily, how long, did we stick with our coaches throughout the 80s and 90s and what have you? I think it's just, we're in this for the long haul, for better, for worse, and so I'm willing to continue to see it play itself out. Hopefully we get some quarterbacks developed, and hopefully we actually see this, see the day where we can actually beat the team down south once again. But I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, Lou said the magic word. Did you hear it? With Michigan football, it's just all about hope. Nothing tangible is going to come your way. Hate to break it to you, but you said the magic word. Keep hoping, man. Keep hope alive. And that's kind of how I like to view things with the Detroit sports teams. It's like, oh, man, you guys, come on, let's go. Every single team waited 1 or 2 extra seasons to rebuild, and now they finally figured out, oh, boy, we got to start from the bottom up. All of them. And it's amazing how the run of the last 3-4 years of doing the podcast, because we were like, rebuild. Either now in this day and age in sports, either you're rebuilding or you're aiming for a championship. And in Detroit, they figured out the whack ass strategy of trying to stay in the middle. Like, let's just get to the 8th seed and figure it out, or let's just eke our way into the postseason. All 4 teams, the Lions, they're an outlier, but it was unbelievable the absolute denial that these teams were in. Finally, all 4 were like, you know what? I think everybody figured it out. The gig is up. We got to rebuild. So finally, we have some hope, and finally, which is good, each organization is taking the lead members and people that have had success and putting them in front office positions to try and recreate the magic of glory days. And at this point in time, it's rebuild city, but at least there's hope. At least there's progress and a vision of what's going on. So being a Detroit sports fan is great. We have the opportunity to break it down each team. And then before I let you go, I got to ask, you sticking with the Lions, or were you on the sell the team bandwagon? It's kind of new. Everyone's excited because Dan Campbell is letting it rip. Obviously, when you check out SI All Lions and the Detroit Sports Podcast, we're at this point just like, this is not Matt Patricia, so this is great. The quotes are great. The interviews are entertaining. It lights us up. We get to at least hear some different phrases like true alpha, biting kneecaps. So before we start looking and peeking at winning and losing, at least Dan Campbell, when he steps to the microphone, has some interesting things to say.
No doubt. I think, with this pandemic, I feel like it's had to change the landscape of Detroit sports a little bit, where for so long you've had the Fords, you've had the other owners here in the city that have relied on just the loyalty of the fan base here. People turn out for the Lions, whether they're a 0-16 team or a 10-6 glory year team. And regardless, they've put butts in seats every year. And really kind of across the board, with the exception being, the Pistons struggling sometimes to fill some seats. But even then, as long as the team has been 500 or close to it, there's still, ticket sales aren't horrible. You go through a pandemic and now all of a sudden it's like, all right, well, we got to rethink this. We don't have any butts in seats. So I guess we should probably focus on the quality of the product for a change. And I feel like, and again, we'll use that hope word again. I hope that, this Dan Campbell hiring and the changing of the guard with the front office means that maybe, just maybe, the Lions turn the page. I like the Stafford move. I like the what they got for him. I don't know that Goff's the answer, but Goff could at least be a placeholder while we have those draft picks and really kind of solidify where we're going and see where it goes from there.
And see, Lou, that's why I enjoy sports conversations with fans like yourself, because I tend to run pessimistic at times, as you can see on my Twitter page. And so to see the more measured, fair, realistic approach is fair for me, because I'm more like, all right, this is taking forever already. Let's move this along. I definitely am willing to give Mr. Campbell and Mr. Holmes one season in 2021. But beyond that, it's winning time, baby. And they got to figure it out, because some teams, the Rams, they hired Sean McVay and they won 11 games right away. But obviously they had a better roster, and I know all that. But I'm impatient and I'm ready to win now. So that's why I run so hot, and I'm the kind of person that just said, and I can share with you, my vision was, when I started the Detroit Sports Podcast, it was whatever's in my head, just go full bore, whatever it is, no filter, and just see what happens. And now that you've spoken to me, I think that you get a sense of, okay, this is a passionate guy that likes Detroit sports. He's not the wild and crazy guy that it appears to be when he's tweeting nonstop and the way it is, but I think you get a sense that, hey, Detroit sports are something that bring people together. We can debate fairly and honestly, where you run more hopeful, I run more detrimental and chaos, but I think it brings people together all across the board in Metro Detroit. And I think that's where I found the most joy in the projects doing this, is the ability to have different opinions and still give a fist bump and say, hey, we live to fight another day. And, hopefully, this is going to drop after the second game. Hopefully, Michigan State plays a little bit better and at least covers a spread of 10 or more. If Juwan Howard brings his team in there again, I think with that extra day's rest, it should be a competitive and fun atmosphere. And all the teams locally, I think, are doing things that are in the best interest of trying to move forward. And with that said, this podcast comes to a close. Lou, Duma, great job with Brackets, baby. Again, please support those that support the Detroit Sports Podcast. Check out bracketsbaby.com or follow him on Twitter at brackets_baby. I know now that he's spoken to us, he's going to get in the mix a little bit more, especially when the college basketball tournament kicks off. March 14th is the live stream. Check it out. Make sure you're there and you see what it's all about. I'm probably going to check it out as well. Get the crew there, see what it's all about, peek into the live stream. Brackets, baby. Lou Duma, thank you so much. I hope we get a chance to talk again. But if we don't, if you're grinding, and I get it, you're building this thing up that you're passionate about, make sure you stay with at Detroit Podcast and message, combat me. Don't let me just run roughshod all over everybody. If you have an opposing take, if you see me getting on Harbaugh too much, hop in here. It's open. And that's what I built. I built a platform for people of all kinds to come together and talk. And I thank you so much for joining us. I had fun.
Likewise. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the plugs and info here, and look forward to interacting with all the fans out there. And thank you.